content.
It makes sense.
And so global persistent chat, global persistent navigation, and global persistent forum content is the goal.
Huh. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm cheap. You guys are ballers, so I would have just used somebody else's.
Nobody does it right, and it's too expensive to build it all yourself.
Right.
And so, yeah, I get really tired. I get mad at the Mighty Networks people because their answer is, no, we're not going to make chat better. You need to get your visitors to think differently. And it's like, that's an impossible education problem. I can never get everyone to drink the Kool-Aid on this. They'll never agree.
You can never even get anyone to agree on which platforms to use.
Yeah. So with PowerDash, our clever hack is you can have any platform you want. Let's take the problem away.
Well, it makes sense. Those are pretty easy because Slack and Skype are both web-based anyway. So you bring that web presence or type solution into that multi-chat system.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the one thing that I didn't like when I was using those was files. And I would send and receive files through both of those chat systems, and it made it harder to do that. I think that was like the thing that maybe unplugged mine.
Well, the cool thing that I'm finding out, like we'll have to look at that, and as those issues come up, address with them.
Yeah.
But I can intercept the URLs and open them natively. So if it's a file URL, I can say, oh, that's, this type of file, open it, download it and open it natively instead of trying to do it within the app.
Right. It might have been your URLs to you. I forget. It's been so long since I used one of those systems, but hopefully you guys figure out the hammers and nails and get it going. Let's see. Oh, all right. So 7 watching. Apparently we are live. So welcome. This is SEO This Week, episode 157. Trust Tools and Shadows. No site audit today. So this is going to be a short show, which is good because Ted's crazy busy. I'm stupid busy and we just want to get on with it. So I'm going to jump over to the news. And while I do that, how you doing, Ted?
Doing pretty good. I hope everyone is staying healthy and is well stocked up and doesn't need to go out. It's crazy times out there.
Oh, yeah, it is. And here's another thing. If you're a YouTube creator, you are not allowed to say anymore. Because if the automatic systems will go in and delete your video or turn your monetization off. So if you say the word, you have to use initials like CV. In order to get around that. Cool little thing I learned the other day.
That's insane, but I guess it makes sense.
Well, basically what they did is they tuned up their filters to get it out because there were people who were trying to newsjack and gain views and turn that into monetization, and Google's like, no, that ain't gonna happen. So
yeah, I guess they have no choice but to censor.
Yeah, at some point. So the page, as you see, updated that. Got a little bit of this done. A new look for SEO this week. We got our original curation plugin is working again, which is awesome. But some things have changed with it, so the image presentation and stuff looks really cool. I like it. And then we added table of content. So if we talk about something and you're in the YouTubes, just come here and you can find the exact story. Click on it, and it'll jump right down for you, and you can get that link that we're talking about. So check that out on the website. And let's see, which one do you want to start us? Left or right, Ted?
Left.
How much do you trust the search results? This was pretty cool. I don't know if you ever read any Lily Ray stuff, but she writes for Moz every once in a while, and she's really active on Twitter. One of the few SEOs on Twitter that I like following because it's mostly SEO stuff, and she doesn't bring too much of her politics into her Twitter feed, like a lot of them do. So, but this is pretty interesting, and just talking about some samples of keywords and the respondents and findings based off of how people are looking at the search results, and do they trust them or do they not? And it's really heavily focused on medical, but still interesting information nonetheless. Like here, 42% agree with the results for Google. And you can see the age range differences. 18 to 25-year-olds are more likely to trust Google than the old grandpas like Ted over 65 plus. You think that's a generational thing? I was looking at that. Those kids are raised up. They've always known the Google. They always known Facebook and stuff. So by default, maybe it's on the internet. It must be true kind of thing.
I think life experience tends to teach people that large media outlets tend to not give reliable facts.
Mm-hmm.
So
it'd be interesting to wait this out and maybe re-examine this in 5 years and see if that age group changes their philosophy.
Well, the funny thing is that it goes full circle. You start building that belief system, and the next thing you know, you find yourself watching Fox News. So, too much of anything is, probably a bad idea. Any extreme is probably a bad idea.
Right. It's pretty interesting. The 36 to 45 age group, they're the least likely to trust the results in Google. So that's pretty good. Or actually, they're, I would say healthily skeptical of the results. Let's see. There's another one in here. Is it important to me to see trusted websites, WebMDs, Mayo Clinics, etc.? 66% say yes. When you use a medical symptom, do you see a symptom card? 51% say they trust that symptom card. That's interesting. News and politics. Yeah, that's kind of, I thought this was pretty predictable. The 18 to 25-year-old segment pretty much go along with it. They think it's high quality and trustworthy. And the old folks, like me, they completely disagree with that assessment. So I think, like you, Ted, you said with age, that statement here, this one of all of them, this guide reflects that. As you get older, you get more skeptical, and you begin to weed out the stuff that you would consider crap versus good.
Yeah, and I think that's just life experience.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good data in here. It's pretty interesting. So I would check that out. Nope, I closed one extra. Which one I closed? I closed this one. Social media index benchmark report. This one is it's a lot of data on the screen, so I'll save you guys all of the trouble of talking through this. But basically what this report does is it breaks down by the industry, the social media site that you should be at least attacking. I'm going to go to health, actually it's higher ed. Just to kind of show some things that are consistent across the board, and you can examine this all yourself. Post per day, Instagram is probably the lowest, but you get the highest engagement rate on Instagram. So there's less in there. You can post less on Instagram and get more out of it. And then Facebook is photos. Instagram is carousels and photos as the type of content you should be using. And if you're using video, Twitter is an excellent resource there. So that is consistent around pretty much all of these markets. If you can, see Facebook, Instagram, photos, video. So this is the lessons there that you should be at least trying to use Instagram. I've never been successful with it, Ted. I'm sure the ecom folks are better at it than an informational type of website like mine would be.
Well, yeah, if you have product photography, it's another easy way to take a little bit more of page one. So yeah, you want to be there. And you don't want to send every garbage image there. You want to do images that will get people to want to click through to find more information. So stunning product photography is great. News article visual aids are great. So if you have a article about CV and you have a chart about how it's progressed over time, that chart is a great one because people want to read about the chart and click through.
Mm-hmm.
So those types of images are generally the types of things you want to optimize and syndicate.
Nice. Speaking of images, Kyle Roof did a study in SIA, and I haven't looked back at it because I just found this post a little while ago. That saying that EXIF data did not help ranking at all. Matthew Woodward did another one, and he said he found that EXIF data does help.
Well, separated by months, they could be different Googles.
Significant months. I think like 2 years separated.
Yeah, so Matthews is more recent, so I give it more attention at this point.
Yeah, he did say that he had this test running over a period of a year. Seems like a long time to come up with a conclusion.
Well, it sounds like he retested over that time frame.
Uh-huh.
So, I put it in the realm of plausibility. There's a number of dimensions I'd like to see within a test.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it tested on multiple sites to get the same result? Were there controls in the testing? Did it beat controls? I like to double up the test cases. So run the exact same test cases multiple times in the experiment and see, do they cluster together? I like to see that there are different amounts of the factor being tested, and do the results get sorted by the amount of factor? And then, of course, do other testers reproduce the same results? You get multiple of those things, and you got a very confident test.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I noticed to address some of that is he did test it on 3 sites. He tested one with image that was stripped. One with no image. One with a standard optimization, the URL with the keyword and the alt tag. And then one with fully loaded EXIF. Some of the information that he's throwing in the EXIF is not actually EXIF. It's IPTC data and the XMP data. And
so it's not a single variable test at that point.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who leave the EXIF in. I always strip it all out. Only do the EXIF stuff, whereas he did the IPTC and the XMP stuff as well. So that's going all out.
So I would rename his test to a test of image metadata instead of an EXIF test specifically.
Right. If you were going to break this down, because there's 3 categories, right? Do you test EXIF data and just fill in each one of these on one image?
Oh, I would test each field.
Right. I was going to say,
I'd get granular with it because it might be certain fields matter and you don't need to care about the rest.
The rest of them, right? And I was thinking, let's see, like by looking at it, the title, the copyright, keywords may help. It'd be pretty interesting. So
I would leaderboard each field. I would isolate each field, leaderboard each field, and see if certain fields trigger effects.
Right. And with the new indexing issues, so this would be what, 1, 2, 3 tests. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It'll be 23.
Yeah, I would do, one experiment with 23 test cases and 10 controls. And then I would repeat that experiment on 10 different websites. And then I would double up those test cases as A and B forms to see if they rank together.
Uh-huh.
And then I would share the specification and get 2 other people to test it too, and then compare results. Yeah. And then at the end of that, if there's something conclusive, that would be hella conclusive.
Right. Well, there's no getting around it. So that's one. And then you'd also have to test EXIF with IPTC, EXIF with XMP, these two together without the EXIF, that kind of thing.
Well, you could follow up with that, but if you can't get smoke with anything, then, it's less likely that the combinations would matter. But yeah, you'd technically still have to look at it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But, 20 combinations of 23 factors, that's a lot of testing. So I'd like to see at least the factors that we do combinations of at least pop a little on their own first.
Right. That makes sense. I like how this is his write-up is actually fairly clear though, like how he did it. And then the video supplement was really good to explain the test. This is what I did. This is exactly how I built it out. This is how I ran it, and then I reran it again. And these are my conclusions. That was really good. And it's like stupid simple of how he broke it down. So if you guys are afraid of testing, this is a good way to show you that you don't have to be. And I believe he also has this tool here that he can help you do the extra stuff for free if you want to do that way. Or you can use Adobe Bridge, Adobe Lightroom. There's Mass Optimizer, plenty of different tools to check out.
Yeah.
To knock all this stuff out.
And, massive props to him for testing. He ran a test, which is awesome. He told us exactly how he did it so we could do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. He shared his data and his findings for peer review. And this is fantastic work. I wish more people in the industry would do this.
Right. Sweet. Customizing Cloudflare's cache. I want to show this page here because a lot of people, including myself, use Cloudflare's system as it's a CDN and a security thing all kind of wrapped into one. I mainly use it for speed. And it does have a cache system in there to allow your websites to load should your servers go down or whatever. Cloudflare will back you up for a little bit. But there's one thing that is not caching, and that's the HTML cache. And you can find that inside of your Cloudflare settings. You can go in and under cache and look at it, and you'll see that the HTML cache is not turned on. In which case, you need to come over to this page. You can see the link on my site, and it'll tell you how to turn on caching with HTML for everybody. And it'll do the HTML, the CSS, the Java, all that madness will now get covered up.
Well, keep in mind, though, if you're running SEO tools and you're doing on page and you say, well, these tools are crap because I keep making changes and they don't show me the changes in the tools, it's because you turned on caching.
Yeah. So you got to turn off you got to do the dev, turn it on and go in the dev mode on Cloudflare, and then maybe even in your plugin if you have it set up there as well. And there's also this little note here of how to make sure you exclude your login area, because if you're logged in and it's cached, you're going to see some of the same things that Ted just mentioned. It's not like your plugin where it'll override your cache if you're logged in. It won't do that. And you just add this rule, switch and switch it around a little bit, and then it'll make everything good to go. So you might be able to squeeze a couple more milliseconds out of there using that. Just check it out. It's worth at least turning it on. Google Tag Manager, the guide to refers. Basically, there's a tag that's default inside of Google Tag Manager, and it's called the refer. And you can use that to track the user flow through your website. So if you have funnels, etc., set up, this is a good thing to use. And you can even go so far as to rename it to make sure, this is my landing page, or my lead capture page, to my thank you page, to my download page, to my add to cart, to my cart. You can follow that right along through there. It's a little bit harder with the browsers and removing some of the stuff, but the same site things are actually working pretty well. And it's when you get into the cross-site refers that it gets a little bit hairy. So this is really cool if you're using, and you should be, Google Tag Manager for anything and implementing some of your stuff, then I would check this out. And there's some extra things you got to do in there to clean up your website a little bit to make sure that you can leverage the most out of this particular tag. Analytics Mania has some courses, etc., and his write-ups are always really, really clear. If I can figure it out based off of what he's writing, I'm sure anyone else can too. Here's one for you, Ted. John Mueller, we do not use W3C validation in the search results.
Totally true. And the reason why is Chrome uses a library that's been around for decades called Tidy. And Tidy finds mistakes in HTML and autocorrects them. And so you can create a static web page with mistakes in it, and you can load that in Chrome. And then if you inspect and look at the rendered DOM and the inspection tools in Chrome, you can see how Tidy fixes bad HTML, because you have your before file in the raw source, and you have the fixed HTML in the DOM inspector.
Okay.
And so Googlebot, when it crawls, it's using headless Chrome. So we know everything that Googlebot looks at has gone through Tidy. There is nothing for Google to do with validation. It's already been corrected by the time Google has saved the source.
Wow. Pretty cool. Do you, as a SEO though, would you still fix that stuff if you notice glaring issues?
Yes, because it potentially affects your page render time, and you want to make sure that your bad stuff renders correctly. So Tidy is not perfect. If your HTML is bad enough, it can autocorrect in a way you might not visibly like on the page. So it's good to have clean code. We also suspect that measuring quality, everybody thinks that, quality is somehow in some way a factor in Google. Right. But measuring quality is very subjective and hard to do. It requires tremendous AI and training models, and it doesn't work well. And it's 50% at best, and that's terrible. So that's a very hard problem to solve. Turns out measuring a lack of quality is completely different. It's very easy, very fast, doesn't require any AI. When stuff is total garbage and broken, it's easy to detect. So don't be easy to detect garbage that's broken.
Okay, let's see. Next. Oh, they're going to start playing. This is Cruz Saunders, and this is a WordLift webinar. Don't know if you're familiar with WordLift, but they have a tool that connects to entities, and then it puts a schema on your website, and it stays there until you delete their plugin and cancel, and then it's all gone. But the ideas and stuff that they're implementing is actually pretty cool. And this is a content modeling for search engine optimization. It kind of, to me, it was a good introduction to entities and the application of entities and how and why they're developed and how they're tied in, and then what you can do with your content to put that all together. It takes an hour to get through it. So if you smoke cigars, this is a good cigar webinar for you to go through. And you get some really good information, not a waste of time at all, and it's not too heady. I like a lot of these videos can be a little bit nerdy, as it were. This one is not like that. I think you'll get through it and you'll actually enjoy it, and then start thinking about in your head, how do I apply this stuff? And more importantly, how do I apply it and then take it beyond what everyone else is going to do that would see the same webinar. So that's pretty good. Ted, if you're into the entity stuff and you have some time, I know you're doing all kinds of crazy coding and stuff, but play this one in the background. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shadow DOM. Do you know what the shadow DOM is, Ted?
No, I haven't heard this term.
I haven't either. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about, the shadow DOM? So basically, the way that Angular and a couple of other languages are done, it's loading up content in such a way that is not visible to
I
the
mean,
body.
cloaking?
Yeah, it's not cloaking. It's just not there right away. I think probably maybe even the closest example that you might get is the time exploit you're talking about, and you can kind of change and do stuff with the time exploit. To me, that's how the shadow DOM right.
Well, with time exploit, there's still only one DOM.
Uh-huh.
So when they say a term like shadow DOM, it makes me think like, oh, do they have a copy of the DOM they're working with and then they're going to swap it in at some point? What is a shadow DOM?
Huh.
There's a definition problem here.
Yeah. It's odd. It's like here, it flattens the shadow DOM and the light DOM content. It means it only sees the content that's visible in the rendered HTML. So it's like there, but it's not there.
Well, a DOM, by definition, has the visible and the invisible content in it. It has the head block, it has the scripts, it has the style sheets. It even has a full nested rendering of your iframes. The DOM is a very complete document of everything that's in the content. So the fact that it's only the visible, I mean, I don't understand what they're saying it is.
Yeah, I saved this because it was pretty interesting, especially if you're not used to knowing. Like you hear people talk about what's the DOM and what's the shadow DOM and how the hell do I see the DOM. There's instructions right here for you. That was a good one, but like I'm still lost. Like, what is the shadow DOM? Let's see. DJ says it's a representation of HTML elements used to determine what to render on the page and enables the modification of the elements. But unlike the DOM, the shadow DOM is not a full standalone document.
Okay, so it's just the things that are important to render visibly, it sounds like. So it's an optimization for the renderer. It's saying I don't need to render the invisible stuff, so don't spend time on it. And you see that in video gaming with the 3D models. You don't render the whole 3D model, you just render the portions of it that are visible. So you don't need to do the dark side of the character in the game because you're not seeing that. So on your computer, you only render the polygons that are visible, and then it's a faster game.
So
Same thing.
based off of what he said and looking at this diagram, I get to see the body, the heading, and the element, right? So this is what it looks like, but this is all the stuff that's driving what it looks like, and I don't get to see that.
Well, if like if that image and that paragraph aren't visible, you don't need to render it.
Okay. Makes sense. Is that right, DJ? Hopefully I get that right. Let's see. That's pretty interesting. And then the different frameworks that use it here, they're saying that it's React and Angular, etc. So, and what the Googlebot does with it and stuff. I check it out, Ted.
Well,
maybe we were both like crazy, but I looked at it and I was kind of confused for a little bit. Like I still don't understand what you're saying. DJ's explanation makes it sound a lot better.
It sounds like it's a rendering trick for performance, but at the end of the day, it all has to be standard protocols. So It still has to be HTML. It still has to be communicated via HTTP. And so, those are fundamental protocols, and it all has to be fundamental protocol in the end. So whatever funny business they're doing to make it performant ultimately has to be those base protocols.
Nice. So, yeah, DJ, if you understand this more, I'd like to hear your comments in the YouTube chat. So leave that down in the comment section. I appreciate it. And then finally, I wanted to show off this new browser that I found. It's called SEO Browse, and if you try it, it's not for free. Let me click this little thingy here. It's 24 euros a month for this one. And in the agency, you get access to VPN as well. It's being touted as a tool to be used for keyword research. And I haven't tried it yet because I'm doing some other testing on some other things, but you can get through here and see the frequently asked questions, etc., and see if it is something that might be useful to you. It's pretty cool. It's based off of Chrome, so you can do your own stuff and add your extensions, I'm assuming. And then it's, like I said, it's being marketed as something to help you check your keyword rankings and to check your and do your keyword research. So it sounds like a manual rank tracker tool hooked to the VPN to help you spoof locations and all that madness. So I would try it out and see what you can get out of it. If anything, it's a neat toy to dink with for a little bit.
Nearly every SEO tool is some incarnation of a web browser for SEOs.
It's looking, I'm looking at it. Yeah, see, did the localization in the tool here. Do the keyword, choose location, desktop or not, and then click around, toggle between devices.
Yeah, you kind of get some of that in Chrome already.
Reporting. Check again. Oh, what changed? During your keyword research, you can quickly return to the previous screenshot. So do a search, take the screenshot, come back and do another screenshot, and you can manually check out and see the different changes inside of there. Interesting. But the keyword there is manual. I don't like that idea.
Yeah, I don't like image change detection either.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they could highlight the differences.
Right. I might get it just to do, because I'm still doing that other project we talked about, and see if I can get some ideas off of this anyway. So
yeah, it's clever,
Yeah, for sure. Maybe you can combine it with some other tools like SERPworks or SEO Ruler, and put that together and come out with maybe even something that's easy for your team and you SOP it out using something like that. That may be an option for that. Okay, any questions in the chat? I don't see any.
Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What should SEOs do now that a lot of them are starting to say that their clients are canceling services because their businesses are difficult? How do you respond to CV in this climate as an SEO?
You should be actually reaching out and coming up with new ideas and new thoughts and stuff. So one example, there's a gym owner in Los Angeles and they closed down all the gyms. No one can go there. So he could have just threw his hands up in the air and said, I'm going home. I'm not going to do anything. Instead, he hooked up a webinar system. And now he's offering all of his members virtual training. And pretty much any type of business like that can offer virtual training. You're an MMA gym, you can do virtual training. You're a doctor, you can do virtual counseling. So you don't have people coming into your office all the time, and you can pick and choose which ones to come, and you can prioritize your patients that way. You're a dentist, you can do kind of the same thing.
Virtual dentistry.
Virtual dentistry. People laughing, but the VA, 9 times out of 10, if I go to a VA clinic for medical care, I'm in Yuma, Arizona, I'll talk to a doctor from like San Francisco through virtual, and that's how they're doing it. So those are still there. So you need to present that stuff to your clients. Service area businesses, unless they go to like full on lockdown, I don't see them being hassled too much about it. I know there will be supposedly some restrictions. And keep in mind, all of those restrictions that you're seeing on the news are not restrictions, they're recommendations, and only your local city governments can actually say you can't move. So your city can say you can't move, and they can create city laws, misdemeanors that will be like enforceable. But your states are only offering recommendations because that's just kind of how the way the Constitution works. Yay, freedom. I'm not saying that following those recommendations is a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what that is. So keep that in perspective. for your clients. And then also prepare, help them prepare for the advance. Everyone's freaking out right now. No one's working. No one's doing any serious marketing. You're stuck on page 2. Sit in your office during your self-imposed quarantine and rank them and have them prepared when everyone breaks out their wallet again. And tell them that, they can cancel pretty much everything they want to do. PPC, cancel it. All that other stuff, always keep your SEO campaigns running, because it takes longer to bring it back than it would if you just kept it going. That's what I would do. And I'll tell you, the adult niche, we're not hurting at all. Actually,
oh yeah,
we're doing
people
great.
are trapped at home with their computers.
Yep. even some markets that I'm in where I would be like, nah, that's not working. No, the adult niche is doing just fine. As a matter, if you want to, you can get crazy and build yourself a campsite. You can try that out. With this whole social distancing stuff, campsites seem to move pretty well. So, all right, let me see. I'm gonna check the chat one more time. Let's see. If you had access to data like Ahrefs and do SEO tests instead of what? Well, can you do SEO tests with data from Ahrefs like you would do for a single variable test?
Yeah, you can test in the field. I mean, that's fine. I find when that works best is when you have results from single variable tests that you then go test them in the field to see if they can move the needle in a context of actual competition.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, field testing is where the rubber meets the road. So single variable tests give you inspiration on where not to waste time in field testing.
Right. Like I always did it is like there's the HTML tags, for instance. We'll take that test. There's 100 and something of them. I tested 78 off of a retest that Ted did, and we figured that 5, maybe 10 of them are actually worthwhile doing. You're kind of wasting your time with the rest of them. So that's what single variable would give us, versus testing in the wild, as it were, is now it helps me determine how important that factor is versus not. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I look at that. And I think that data from Ahrefs, though I don't say that it's the best, but it's the best that they got. So you can come up with some decent conclusions based off of that. Cora does it with the correlation of the Ahrefs stuff. So if anything, it gives you can come up with conclusions with the data, and then give yourself another test to test that again in the quote unquote in the wild to see if you're right and to verify it. An example, referring domains, the number of referring domains, the data says you need X, Y, and Z or X amount of referring domains to rank for this word. Go out and get those referring domains and try it out. That's an idea. Okay, I don't see anything else, so we're going to close it out with some notes. Again, if you want to join SIA, Jesus, I'm crazy right now. Go to SEOintelligenceagency.com and /join us, or just click on the join us button and you'll be all set to go. There's also a link for Ted's new tool, the SEO Content Editor Pro, inside of the description. Click on that. Get a measly $5 for every one of those that one of you guys sign up for it. So check that out. And then also be sure to check Ted, Kyle, and myself out tomorrow on SEO Fight Club. Ted, do we have a topic yet?
We do. I've been talking for a long time about doing names of things auditing for online retail. And it was always in the context of entities and how do you do a names of things audit for a customer. And I would always say, it's the first thing you want to do. It's the quick win. You get in there, you check the names of things, you get it fixed up, you get a quick result for a client, and then that buys you more time to do the full SEO. But, for a lot of people, the name of the game is how do you get a quick result that buys you the time you need to then go and do full proper SEO. And so names of things auditing is what I do for online retail and lots of other niches.
And when you're talking names of things, it'd be like, sunset cream versus orange.
Yeah. And typically where I start is categories, because that's where people have big mistakes that hurt their organic traffic. And so when you look at an online retailer, you'll go in and investigate all their pages. You'll find out that a great deal of their categories and their product pages are goose eggs for organic traffic. And if you can turn those zeros into non-zeros at any level, site-wide, that's a big deal for the whole site.
Right.
So the names of things audit is about finding those goose eggs and turning them into something better than a zero.
Sweet. Perfect. So come check us out tomorrow. It's 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Correct?
No, 11.
11
Pacific time. It's different for you because you don't recognize daylight savings.
Oh yeah, you guys are back. So it's okay.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and Mountain Standard Time. Okay. Craziness. Good thing we said it. Thank you everyone for showing up. Ted, thank you very much for coming. We will see you all next week.
Okay, thank you.